My mother-in-law slapped my 6-year-old daughter because she wouldn't give her dress to my sister-in-law's kid. When I confronted them, my SIL spat in my face, saying, "You should teach your daughter some manners." My husband just stood there nodding. You know they're right. I didn't scream. I didn't hit back. I just grabbed my daughter and left the venue immediately. That night, I packed our bags and left. What I did next left all of them speechless. So, this happened 2 weeks ago. And I'm still shaking. I, 34F, attended a family wedding with my husband, 36M, our daughter, 6F, and his side of the family. My daughter wore a pastel blue tulle dress, one she picked out herself and had been obsessed with for weeks. It wasn't designer or anything. Just something sparkly that made her feel special. It was one of those over-the-top weddings, the kind where everything is choreographed like a Broadway show. My sister-in-law, 30F, Tina, was one of the bridesmaids, and her 5-year-old daughter was throwing tantrums the entire evening because she didn't like her own dress. She kept pointing at my daughter, saying, "I want that one." I ignored it at first. Kids will be kids. But what happened next still makes me nauseous. I was in the restroom helping my daughter fix her hair when my MIL stormed in, grabbed her by the arm, and slapped her across the cheek. Yes, slapped. A 6-year-old. She screamed. "How dare you embarrass your cousin like that? Give her your dress. Now." My daughter just stood there sobbing, terrified. I froze for half a second before pulling her behind me. I said, "Are you out of your mind?" But before I could even process what had just happened, Tina walked in and spat in my face. Actual spit. She said, "You should teach your daughter some damn manners instead of raising a selfish little brat." I was stunned. Still wiping spit off my face, I turned to my husband, who had come in during the commotion, and expected him to back me up. Defend our daughter. Defend me. But all he did was fold his arms and say, "You know they're right. She should have just switched dresses." I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't lash out or throw anything. I just held my daughter tighter and walked out. Quiet. Calm. But boiling inside. We didn't even stay for dinner. I called a cab, went home, and tucked my daughter into bed. Her cheek still red. Her little heart broken. She asked me before falling asleep, "Was I bad, Mommy?" I kissed her forehead and whispered, "You were perfect." That night, while my husband slept like nothing happened, I quietly packed our things. Documents. Clothes. Essentials. Every small piece of independence I'd been too afraid to collect until that moment. By dawn, I was gone. No text. No note. Just gone. What I did next left all of them speechless. And if you think the slap was the end of it, buckle up. Because that's where the reckoning begins. So, here's the part where most people expect drama. Explosions. Screaming matches. But nope, I didn't give them that satisfaction. I checked into a small rental apartment 3 towns over using some emergency savings I'd secretly built up over the past year. Call it gut instinct, but something in me always knew I might need a quick exit plan. My name wasn't on the lease of our marital home. That was mistake number 1. But this time, everything was mine. My name, my terms. The first 3 days were quiet. I focused on getting my daughter enrolled in a temporary daycare while I contacted a lawyer. I didn't call anyone from my husband's side. Not even to say goodbye. The silence, I knew, would speak louder than any screaming ever could. But the silence didn't last. Day 4, my husband blew up my phone. "Where are you? What the hell is this, some tantrum? You embarrassed me. Our daughter misses her family." No apology. No concern about what they did. Just ego. Control. Image. I ignored every message. Day 5. MIL tried calling me from a blocked number. Left a voicemail saying, "You're tearing the family apart. All over a dress. Be a woman. Come back and apologize." Apologize? My hands were shaking when I listened to that one. But still, I said nothing. Day 7. A letter arrived at my lawyer's office from my husband's attorney, requesting reconciliation talks. Apparently, my leaving disrupted familial stability and was not in the best interest of the child. That's when my lawyer smiled and said, "Let's give them something to really worry about." Here's what they didn't know. Before leaving, I made copies of everything. Photos of my daughter's bruised cheek. A recording from the bathroom hallway, thank you, venue security cameras. A voice message from Tina where she literally laughed about spitting on me, sent to one of her friends, who turned out to be less loyal than she thought. Everything was timestamped, backed up, and forwarded to my legal team. I wasn't just walking away. I was preparing for war, silently. But I wasn't done yet. While they were busy gossiping and playing the victim, I did something else. Something I don't think they ever saw coming. I filed for full custody. Not partial. Not shared. Full. On grounds of emotional and physical abuse, hostile family environment, and endangerment of a minor. I told my lawyer. They think I'm weak because I didn't scream. Let's show them what silence can do. The next court date was set. And, suddenly, the calls stopped. I guess the moment you go quiet and lawyers start talking, people get nervous. But I wasn't just looking for custody. I wanted freedom. And the way I planned to get it? That's coming next. You know that saying, when someone shows you who they are, believe them? Yeah, I believed them. But now, the court was about to as well. After filing for full custody, things moved faster than I expected. The court ordered a preliminary hearing to review the request. My husband showed up looking disheveled and smug at the same time, like he thought just being a dad gave him automatic rights. ML came with him, acting like she was the victim in all this. Tina wasn't there, thank God. I walked in with my lawyer, dressed simply, holding a folder of every piece of evidence, clean, quiet, factual. No drama. Just proof. When the judge asked for my reasoning, I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I just played. The venue's hallway footage, showing MIL dragging my daughter by the arm. A still photo of my daughter's cheek from that night. The voice message from Tina, laughing and saying, "Oh yeah, I spat right in her face. Maybe now she'll stop acting high and mighty." And finally, a screenshot of my husband's text saying I embarrassed him and that our daughter should have just given the damn dress. The room went dead silent. The judge looked at my husband and said, "Do you dispute the authenticity of this evidence?" He stammered something about misunderstandings and emotions running high, but it was too late. The mask cracked. For once, someone saw them, all of them, the way I always had. Then my lawyer calmly handed over the final piece. A notarized letter from my daughter's pediatrician, confirming she had an anxiety response after the incident. Nightmares. Refusal to wear dresses. Clinginess. All consistent with emotional trauma. The judge didn't even blink. Temporary sole custody was awarded on the spot, pending a full investigation. I walked out of that courtroom holding my daughter's hand. She looked up at me and asked, "Did we win?" I said, "We got what we needed. That's what matters." But I wasn't done. See, I'd kept quiet for years. Let them talk down to me, override my choices as a mother, insult me behind my back. I bit my tongue so much I forgot what it was like to speak up. Not anymore. 1 week later, I posted an anonymous, but very detailed account of everything online. Not here. Not Reddit. Somewhere they'd see it, Facebook, under an anonymous page. Photos blurred. Names omitted. But enough details for anyone close to them to know exactly who it was about. I didn't name them. I didn't have to. The comments poured in. People asked, how could a family treat a child like that? Others guessed who it was. Some shared it. By the time ML called me, blocked, the post had been shared over 7,000 times. That night, I got a message from someone I never expected, my husband's cousin, who I barely knew. She said, "You're not the first woman they've broken, but you might be the first one who fought back." I stared at the message for a long time. Because she was right. After that courtroom victory and the Facebook wildfire, I kept my distance. I wasn't interested in revenge for the sake of it. What I wanted was peace. A life for my daughter where fear didn't live under the same roof as her bedtime stories. But peace, I've learned, sometimes comes only after the fire. And the fire had only just begun. Within a week of the Facebook post going viral, things spiraled for them. At first, they tried denial. ML wrote a passive-aggressive public post about lies being spread by bitter people who were trying to tear apart a family. She mentioned a woman who turned her child into a pawn for attention. No names, of course. Cowards never use names. But that only made things worse. Comments exploded under her post. People started putting pieces together. Screenshots from my post and hers started circulating side by side. Then someone shared an old birthday video from years ago, my daughter crying in the background while Tina's child opened all the gifts. One commenter said, "Wait, is this the family from the dress story?" And just like that, the illusion shattered. Even people within their circle started turning. One of MIL's old church friends posted, "I've seen her scold that child like she wasn't family. I thought it was just discipline. I didn't know it was abuse." Her bridge club dropped her. Tina was asked not to return to her daughter's preschool PTA. And my husband? Well, he showed up at my door, 3 weeks after the custody hearing, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Bags under his eyes, shirt untucked, desperation all over his face. I didn't open the door, but I let him speak through the screen. I didn't know it would go this far, he said. You made us look like monsters. I told him, flatly. You did that yourselves. I just stopped covering it up. Then he said something that I still think about. You used to be so quiet, so obedient. And there it was. Not regret, not remorse, just the grief of losing control. I closed the door on him, gently. No slamming, just finality. 2 months after that, the final custody hearing happened. By then, CPS had conducted their investigation. They'd visited Emil's house, talked to neighbors, pulled school records and prior complaints. Turns out, there were whispers. A teacher once filed a note that my daughter showed signs of being unusually anxious around older female relatives. It went nowhere at the time. But now, it all painted a very different picture. My husband's lawyer tried to argue for supervised visits, but even that was denied for the time being. The court upheld full custody in my favor and issued a restraining order against Emil and Tina for a minimum of 18 months. After the ruling, my husband didn't look at me once. He just stared at the floor like a man whose entire empire had turned to ash. Because that's exactly what happened. The silence after the storm was the most beautiful sound I've ever heard. My daughter started sleeping through the night again. She stopped flinching when the doorbell rang. She even wore her sparkly blue dress again, to a picnic. No fear. Just joy. We moved to a new city, closer to my sister, the only family who'd ever stood by me. I found a remote job. Small apartment. Tiny balcony with flowers we planted together. One morning, over cereal, my daughter looked at me and asked, "Are we safe now?" I smiled. "We've always been safe, baby. But now we're free."